It's time for Leonard Hamilton, Florida State, to end this the right way. We'll link that at the bottom of this video. Corey, was your column something that has been bubbling underneath the surface that you wanted to say for a long time, or did this have something to do with Florida State's complete collapse at Chestnut Hill yesterday, under a minute to go, and how did this come to be for you?
Yeah, no, it was. It's something that I think we've all kind of known, right, Tom? Like he has 0 years left on his contract, and they're not going to make the NCAA tournament. So, what is the next step? Are you going to give him a 1-year contract? Are you going to give him a 2-year contract? Is he done? That was what we've been thinking about that for really all season, going into the season, back in the preseason, after last season. We're like, okay, I guess they're going to let Leonard coach out the string, and you hoped that they would make a run, that there'd be something special about this team, and they started out and gave you some hope. It was false hope, as it turned out, but they gave you some hope, and then these last 4 games have been just inexcusable for a team even trying to be near the bubble. To lose 4 in a row to Cal, Stanford, at home to Virginia Tech, and then to a horrible Boston College team where you give up, I think they gave up 15 points in 46 seconds.
Yeah.
That's incredible. That's incredible. So when you lose a game like that on the heels of what you looked like against Virginia Tech on Wednesday, we know this is his last season, right? I think wouldn't we be stunned if he came back next year? If they announced, hey, we gave Leonard Hamilton a 2-year contract extension.
I would be absolutely gobsmacked. That's a word we use during football season for 2 and 10. I think it might be more shocking than 2 and 10 if he came back for another year, Corey. And it's for the reasons you enumerate in the column, like, communicating to recruits and or transfers that 1 more year, baby. Like, why would a high school kid sign on for 1 more year? Why would a transfer portal kid, looking at what the evidence says over the last 3 seasons, that would make 0 sense at this point.
And also, why would fans show up? Why would the people that can pay for really good players to this coaching staff anymore? You know what I mean? They want to. There's just it's so. Really, what I was left with, Tom, was sadness. Like, man, this is how it's over. It's done. And then I was like, you know what? What would be even sadder than the fact that Leonard Hamilton's tenure is over is if he just ends with a press release. Or if they butt heads and decide, no, you're going to have to fire me, or you're going to have to announce you're not extending me. I am not going to come out and resign. I'm not going to announce that this is my last year. I'm not going to do anything like that. Screw all y'all. And that it's just not fitting. I want him to get his. Did the kids still say flowers? I don't know if that's still in play anymore.
It's common enough. Yes.
Okay, sure. But I would like him to have that moment, March 8th against SMU, where he gets celebrated for what he did. I do not want it to be acrimonious. I want it to be amicable. I want it to be a graceful exit. And it takes 2. I want Florida State to work really, really hard to make him understand we want to do this for you. Yep. You deserve this. Mm-hmm. I also want him to be amenable to that and be like, you know what? I still think I can coach. You guys, I've been once NIL and the portal came, you saw what happened because I can't compete with some of these programs. We get why, Leonard had this thing running, humming along, and then NIL and the portal came and it was punted into the sun. So, and it hasn't been anywhere close to the same sense. But so I want him to acquiesce and say, yes, I will allow that. I will announce it, and we will have like a ride off into the sunset over these last 4 to 5 weeks, culminating with what could be a really special day for him.
Yep.
In that home finale. They could name the court after him. I've talked about that for years. I think that would be a great move. His name could be in the rafters alongside Hugh Durham's. It belongs there. He's been here for a quarter of a century.
Yep.
I think all that it would be a really neat way, in a sweet way, to end this tenure. It's going to be bittersweet anyway, but I would rather have a more sweet than bitter.
Well, and there are so many players that have gone on to do excellent things on the court in the NBA, on the court in Europe or other leagues, and then in life. This is one where, Corey, I get it. A lot of times when things come to a crashing halt, people don't want to hear about the sentimentality. I've got only sentimentality when it comes to this particular hire. I came to Florida State in January 2006, and the highlight of my first 2 to 3 years on campus was beating Duke and storming the court.
Right.
Here, J.J. Redick came to town. The basketball program had more juice than the mediocrity of the football program. They weren't even making the tournament in the beginning of my time here. It's just, when you're talking about how 10 years in, and I saw this in the Tribal Council in response to your article yesterday, Florida State, where coaches hang around too long, and they're comparing Coach Ham to Bobby Bowden or Mike Martin. This is such a different set of circumstances because when you're talking about resources available to the head coach, I think that's so important to hammer here, is that the resources available to Leonard Hamilton, if you compare it to baseball and football here, were limited, and in some instances over the last 20 plus years, nil. And he was doing as best as he could to elevate a program that wasn't getting the investment like a traditional program at Florida State. And he succeeded more than once here, Corey. So that's why he deserves the flowers. He deserves the court naming, whatever it is. Leonard Hamilton deserves it all. And I know you were there that day. I'm so happy because I know they weren't unanimous on this until it came up, I think just a couple of days before the event. In 2020, when they beat Boston College at home to close out that season, and they cut down the nets, and they play "We Are the Champions," and they're unveiling graphics on the screen. That was an important moment in this program's history. And had they chosen not to do that, then he wouldn't even have a moment on the level that you're describing that they should give to him in 2025.
Yeah, he had the one in the ACC tournament in 12. They won that, but then his best ever team, as we all know, didn't get to play for the national championship, and it was a legitimate national championship contender, certainly a Final Four contender. That team, as you guys all remember, was loaded. And then the next year, you had Scotty Barnes and Raekwon Gray and some good players. And then after that, it fell off a cliff. The injuries hurt, bad decisions hurt, NIL hurt, and it's where we are. Look, he is not. When I wrote that column on Saturday, it wasn't saying, hey, Florida State needs to fire Leonard Hamilton. We know this is the end. This is not Corey Clark advocating for them letting go of Leonard Hamilton. I think we all know he's got 9 regular season games left as the Florida State head coach. We would be stunned if that's not the case. So knowing that, how's about getting out ahead of it, letting people know that you have a plan in place, that this is the last year. You're going to do a nationwide search. You start that process earlier, and then you honor a man that deserves to be honored. Look, he's not Bobby Bowden. He's not won national championships. He did not revolutionize the sport or revolutionize the university. Yep. But he's been very important at this university for the last two and a half decades. He's had some great moments. He got robbed of what would have been his probably greatest moment, his crowning achievement, and he's done it all with grace and character and class. Yep. But he's 76. He has 0 years left on his contract. This seems like it's an inevitability that doesn't seem like it's an inevitability. So get out ahead of it. Announce what the intentions are. Quit being quiet about it. You have to address it head on when you blow a game, like when you're on a 4-game losing streak and the last loss was to a horrible Boston College team where your team just straight up collapsed. And you just have to, it's time. We all know it's time. So let's make the best out of these last 9 games, and let's give this guy a send-off that I think he really deserves.
If you haven't read the column, click the link at the bottom of the video in the comments. It'll take you over to warchant.com. And if it says, hey, sign up now because you haven't, it's just $1 for your first week. You're going to love what you find at warchant.com. Join the largest FSU fan community and for great content like Corey's.